We know there are AAA titles like Bioshock Infinite, GTA 5, Last of Us, and a heckaton of other titles coming out. But what about the ones you don't have to initially pay and then get a lot of fun out of it while playing with other like-minded individuals on an online space? You know, like free-to-play games that come with a great level of AAA polish and game design care. Last year's examples include MechWarrior Online and Hawken. Here are the few games that we predict will catch on with the free-to-play mass multiplaying public, either in a complete or open beta public state. What's better than playing a potentially great title, you ask? Playing a potentially great title that cost you $0. When's the last time you've been to an MMO universe combining Asian-style fantasy settings and martial arts? Without starring pandas? Nope, you haven't. That's why you should put Blade & Soul on your list. You've got 4 races and 6 classes to tinker with, loads of customization options, and a neat combat system with lots of oomph and flair. It's rather obvious that the game's art style is leaning towards female characters having big eyes, but you can't deny the rest of the oriental aesthetics looking really colourful and pleasant to look at. Not to be confused with BioWare and Obsidian's Neverwinter Nights games, this MMORPG is a free Dungeons & Dragons game from the people behind the City of Heroes and Star Trek MMO. How can you go wrong with such a pedigree? The action and combat feels great based on what we've played so far. Plus, the developers are doing their best in making the story laden with loads of dialogue trees and choices to make. It's also got a custom adventure building tool called the Foundry Toolset. Perfect if you prefer being a dungeon master and miss the user-generated content from BioWare's past title. Taking a page from PlanetSide 2, Defiance aims to be a massive co-op heavy shooter with tons of people running around the field. You play a survivor on the desolate Earth ravaged by alien bugs. Another kicker to this project is that there's an upcoming TV series with the same name that's coinciding with events in the game. According to devs Tryon Worlds, whatever side story bits that happen on the TV show will be updated and touched upon in the game to keep narrative cohesion. But hey, if you want to drive around on a dune buggy blasting bugs and bandits without so much a care in the world, the game lets you do just that. It's cool. Right now in the closed beta state, WARFRAME is what happens when you put in intergalactic space ninjas in a Mass Effect multiplayer type game. You team up with other Tenno warriors as you fight enemies, sabotage their bases, or help rescue hostages. All from the dangers of dealing with different enemy races with their own playstyle and unit types. It's polished looking so far, the controls and shooting action is great, and it's fun to work alongside people who can complement your Warframe abilities. If you love your third-person shooters with brims of sci-fi coding, do give this one your attention. It's Diablo meets the Avengers, X-Men and whatever superhero stable Marvel has and owns. It's also a game being supervised by Blizzard North co-founder David Brevik, with its story written by favourite Marvel scribe Brian Michael Bendis. That should be more than enough to get your comic-loving senses a tingling. Still, the success of this potential superhero-filled clickfest is dependent on how much additional heroes cost and how loot and instances are handled. We suggest the devs learn a thing or two from action RPG heavyweights like Torchlight 2 if it wishes to stay ahead of the clicking curve. Yeah, we're not done with free-to-play action RPGs in the least bit. Developed by New Zealand-based company Grinding Gear, this loot-hoarding clickfest is set in a dark and gritty fantasy world and offers 6 classes for you to experiment with. Other highlights include the ability to swap skills on the fly with skill gems, a passive skill tree that's hugely customizable, and different online leagues that increases the difficulty and rewards when playing. Space is indeed the final frontier for this NCSoft developed game. Imagine if Guild Wars 2 was set in a cartoony and fantastical sci-fi universe a la Ratchet & Clank, you get WILDSTAR. The game will feature a path system where whatever you do in-game determines the skills of your chosen class. Sandbox elements are there, including the chance to earn your own estate and the freedom to jump around planets. NCSoft has been mum about the game's payment model. How Guild Wars 2 succeed in the following months may determine how WILDSTAR will be shipped out and played by the masses. Alright, let's delve on down with the more obscure, foreign and possibly forgotten. These next few games might have a slim chance of coming out in English, but they're worth looking out for just because of concept alone. Shown behind closed doors, developer Inuka Interactive and publisher NeoWiz are planning on creating an MMO with God of War style combat. All set in a steampunk/magic-laced universe a la Final Fantasy. What's been shown so far was in-game graphics and gameplay sans user interface or even a HUD. But it warrants mention because the development staff behind it did the Kingdom Under Fire series. Those games did pretty alright last we checked. If you played Dragon Nest back in 2011 and loved it, you may be pleased to know that developer Identity are hard at work on another seemingly cute looking dungeon crawler called Dungeon Striker. Imagine a free-to-play Diablo with a flexible character class switching mechanic and Twitch style gameplay. What you got right there is a potential recipe for time killing. Add in auction houses, item crafting facilities, and an upcoming player vs player patch for your fighting needs, and you wonder why you have to shell out money just to get your action RPG jollies in the first place. If you haven't seen GameSpot preview on this title called MABINOGI 2 Arena, just understand that this game's like a tag team wrestling fuel online version of Golden Axe. You still have a fantasy world filled with orcs and other manifestations of dark medieval times, but the character classes like the bard and your fancy attacks and varied playstyles make for a potentially entertaining experience. Besides, why would you say no to an online Golden Axe? At least it's more faithful than the one Sega did years back.
By my balls, girl! I thought you were dead!
If you've been keeping up with what could be a huge wet dream for Mega Man fans, you know that this game has been silent since 2011. Published by NeoWiz, the game merges all of the canonical Mega Man stories from the original to the ZX series. And then it makes it its own online MMO thing in 2D side-scrolling and platforming glory. Recent news from the publisher have surfaced, stating that the game is on hold, possibly being reworked with a new engine. Whatever the case, Mega Man fans will have to wait with bated breath on this possible dream project come true ever since the cancellation of the other dream project back in 2011. So, what are your favorite games on this list? Happen to know what other free-to-play MMOs will be out this year? Tell us on the comments box below.